The Alpha Sessions with Emma Joyce.
I'm Emma and I'm here with Danny Toeman. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. Obviously, we've had you down to the studio before, but
In the good old days.
In the good old days when we were allowed to meet actual people in real life. And we had a great chat in the studio. But unfortunately, not unfortunately that I'm chatting to you, but unfortunately we can't get back to the studio. So we'll have to make do with home videos and Zoom due to these crazy times. I wanted to ask you about your brand new vinyl that you've got going on. What's it called?
It's called If What You Say Is What You Mean.
And what's it about?
Well, I think it's a very, very prevalent record for these times, because essentially it's about people in power who dream of power for the sake of power and the lies they tell us to get that power, and how in situations where it all hits the fan, what are they really doing to help us? And the irony is, I wrote this song like 2 years ago, or maybe even longer, I can't remember, but it was recorded and I was waiting for the right time to release it. And given the circumstances in the world, it seemed like the perfect time to say what I was feeling, which is, if what you say is what you mean, and the way you act on these things, then you really don't stand for anything except for self-preservation. And I aim this at all the demagogues that we have going at the moment. And I don't consider myself to be a very political person in the slightest, but I felt that when I wrote it, I felt that the tide of the world was turning very much into not such a good place. I think a lot of us could agree.
Yeah.
And 2020 really felt like the year to release this song.
How come you chose to release it on vinyl?
Well, because vinyl is amazing. Vinyl is the way that I've always seen my music being listened to properly, to hear it in its full, to have the full experience of listening to my music. I feel it should always have been on vinyl. And this lockdown, at the beginning of lockdown, I was incredibly fortunate to be offered a record deal by a vinyl-only label, Lrk Records in Cambridge. And we released my song, She's Got Something About Her, on vinyl, and in 3 months, it sold out all the copies, which was incredible. And the UK soul community really seemed to love that record and want to support it. And we got a lot of the small stations playing it, and a few of the big up stations as well, just completely organically. We did zero marketing, didn't pay for any PR or marketing for it, and it was an incredible success. And so we decided to see how this new single would do. So we're putting that out in November, very, very soon.
So exciting. Also on vinyl.
Also on vinyl.
So Lrk Records in Cambridge. How did that deal come about? And also, it's a very cool time for that to happen, obviously before lockdown.
Oh no, in the middle of lockdown.
Oh, okay. So how did all of that come about?
I'll tell you, I was on Instagram looking for accounts that I felt would be similar to mine, playing the Instagram game, liking the right pictures. I saw this one account, which was a bunch of old vinyl, like vinyl record collections of a lot of stuff that I liked, like that I actually literally liked. So I figured I'd write a few comments, do a few likes, watch this person's stories, because it appeared that they were like a seller of secondhand vinyl, and they had a Spotify playlist. And I said, oh, well, if you like soul music, maybe you want to add my song to your Spotify playlist. And he said, I love this song. I've just started my own label. We've had one release so far. How about we release this song on vinyl? I'll pay for it. And just came about like that.
2020's been a bit of a weird year. And we are sort of semi out of lockdown now, but when we were in peak unprecedented times, what tunes kept you going?
What tunes kept me going?
Yeah, what were you listening to music-wise?
Well, right before lockdown, I got a new phone. And with the new phone, I was given a free 3-month subscription to Amazon Music.
Whoa.
And usually I'm not a big fan of streaming services. Like I have Spotify, but I don't pay for it. And I barely use it. Like if it's very much a last resort if I need to look something up, but usually you can find it elsewhere. But I got Amazon Music and I found I had a lot of songs on it that were much rarer than on Spotify that I could find. And a lot of rare cuts from some of the artists that I really love. So I mainly listen to classic soul, classic funk from the 60s and 70s. And I think the one song, which is not exactly an unfamous song, but I'd never really heard before, but it's been one that I've constantly listened to over and over again. Because it reminds me a lot of my song, She's Got Something About Her, is a song called Feel the Need by the Detroit Emeralds.
Oh.
It's very concise, sort of mid-tempo, uplifting, gets to the message straight away. It's got some interesting chords in there, but it doesn't veer off too much into craziness. I'd recommend it to everyone just looking for a nice pick-me-up, for 3 minutes of your day.
Nice. So would you say you listen to that most days?
Well, maybe not most days. It's tough. I feel I'd be remiss not to talk about some of the music put out during this time by some of my incredibly talented friends. For instance, I don't know if you ever had an artist on your show called Veda, but she's absolutely incredible. And she released an EP during lockdown called Sad Girls Club. And the single on it, I believe, is called Call This Love, which is the kind of melody where it'll be 2 a.m. and I might have not gone to sleep properly and kind of woken up halfway through my dream and gone. Like start singing the melody. Wonderful sort of neo soul R&B influences. And
Veda Black, I've got to look this up.
Veda
now.
Black.
Veda Black. Okay.
So get in touch. She is an artist who is going places.
Nice. And how would you say you kept busy during these weird times?
I feel that the story of lockdown, obviously, and Corona is still unfinished, and I'd like to think that I'm going to save it all for my book about how I survived lockdown. But I can tell you that obviously at the beginning of lockdown, it was obviously very difficult and very weird. I think there was a big community spirit from a lot of people to try and keep life going with their pub quizzes on Zoom and clapping for the NHS. Remember those days, clapping for the NHS on a Thursday?
Yeah.
I think actually what I did very early on in lockdown was I set myself a few projects, and one of them was learning how to speak German.
Oh, yes.
Or using the Duolingo app.
We've compared Duolingo notes on Instagram.
Oh, yes, we have, haven't we? Mainly the weirdest sentences that Duolingo comes up with.
Yeah, this is true.
So, for instance, in the German one, they have the phrase, my duck is bigger than his. I don't know what they're thinking there. Yeah.
No idea. Okay, so learning German has been good.
That was at the beginning, and then as time went on, and you were told you could go out for an hour of exercise, what I actually started doing was I taught myself how to ride a bike.
Cool.
So I would just go on these hour-long rides all around London, because I don't drive, and I've never been very confident like being on the road. But now I absolutely love being on a busy sort of dual carriageway or whatever, and just yelling at the cars and swearing and generally letting all my road rage out, because I'm on a cycle. I have right of way. And even when I don't, apparently I was cycling with a friend and I was turning a corner and apparently it was the car's right of way, but I still sort of barged my way through. I don't know if that's illegal for me to say on this, but we're all here, we're all alive, no one died, it's all fine. True. But it's nice to be king of the road. That's been fun. And then in July, at the end of July, all the gyms reopened. And I thought, and I love to go to the gym, but usually that's to lift weights, do a bit of cardio, all the kind of stuff that I do when I was training in wrestling. But I felt a bit aimless and directionless, and obviously wrestling school isn't open again. And so I decided to take yoga classes. And despite being a complete beginner, the instructor seemed to think that I had real promise. And I can actually report that this morning, I stood on my head for the very first time.
Wow.
While practicing at home.
That's quite cool.
Not for very long, but I'm quite proud.
Do you find that it helps the state of mind?
Honestly, I'd like to say I'd like to say that it did, but I don't really know if it has.
Okay.
I don't know if I need to meditate as well,
Yeah.
or maybe eat more vegetarian food or vegan food to make it all sort of come together. Like yoga, vegetarian or veganism, meditation, and massage. I don't know. It's like the quadrant of happier living. I need to embrace more of those things, I think.
Okay. What support do you think musicians need from people listening right now for artists who aren't able to perform live? I know this is a big one for musicians at the moment.
It's hard for me to say. I mean, obviously, it would be wonderful if the government would give us all a ton of money to just make up for the fact that we aren't earning live. The irony is, I feel that the live scene was already in a terminal state of decline long before Corona, especially in London, where more and more venues close and the opportunities that are available seem to be fewer and fewer, and more in that sort of restaurant, covers, background music setting, rather than venues that book live artists will pay the artists to perform there rather than the usual, and I think there are a lot of different tiers of music. So last year I was very lucky to do a bunch of gigs where the money was just guaranteed for originals, which I think is pretty rare, to be honest. But those opportunities are very far and few between. But in terms of the support for artists, it's hard to say. I think in terms of people, it's going to be difficult for people. You remember those first few weeks of lockdown when every time you look at your phone, and I know we're all looking at our phones quite a lot, you get notification after notification of this person has now gone live, is live streaming, all different live streamings. Like, I got pretty tired of that very, very early on. And I can't imagine what it's like but then I guess a lot of my friends on these apps are musicians as well. I don't know what it's like for someone who isn't a musician. But I feel that's very, very saturated. And it's very hard for me I can imagine it's hard for people to want to donate money to watch a live stream, because it's something that is so easily accessible. And it ties into Spotify as well. You're paying £10 a month or whatever it is to get hundreds of millions of songs at your access. People don't really want to pay. And so it's very hard to encourage your friends or whatever to support you, which is why I was very lucky with the vinyl, because it wasn't my friends buying it. It was the UK soul community, and actually further afield. We got a lot of buyers in Japan and Australia and Germany.
That's so cool. I
think a lot of it is about, for me, it was finding my audience rather than trying to rely too much on people that I knew, because musicians, how many musicians really go to other musicians' gigs unless they're like best friends? I don't know. Yeah. So I'd rather get engaged with the people who I know are going to support what I do. But in terms of a regular person, I don't mean like regular music, in terms of just a fan of music who wants to support their artists, the best way to do that, I think, is to think about who do they know that would really like someone's music, and then share their posts with them, share their links, share the Spotify or the social media handles, rather than just repost it, but actually think, who do I know that I think would really like this, and make an effort to say why you think they would like it. I think those recommendations, usually much more personal, usually work much better. And then anyone in your life who you know who can help is probably the best way. And also, money.
Everybody says I'm wrong. They just don't understand my song. But I keep up the fire because I know I'm right. Everybody says I'm wrong, trying to keep it going for so long. Said I wasted my youth, but they don't know the truth. I keep waiting for the day all my troubles roll away. Oh, let me tell you about it now. But like the ever-changing dawn, they just keep on rolling on. Everybody says I'm wrong, and that's what keeps me going strong. To myself I've guaranteed one day I'll finally succeed. One day I'll finally succeed. One day I'll finally succeed. Everybody says I'm wrong.
The Alpha Sessions.
I was
Always
thinking about
helps.
the live streams. So often when we've watched it during lockdown, we've pretended that we're in a bar or a pub when really we're just sitting at home in the living room watching a live stream. And someone said once on one of the live streams, pretend that you are going to the bar, buying a drink from the bar, and that money that you would spend on your beer or your wine or whatever at the bar, put it to the PayPal and donate it to the artist. And I think that's a really cool way of looking at it. And I would very much encourage other people that are watching live streams to do the same.
Like, I don't know if what I said sounded a lot like I was telling people not to spend money, not to watch live streams, but I think it's very, very saturated, and
Agreed.
it's very, very important, I think, for artists to find the things that make them not just, I am a singer from London.
Yeah,
I like to sing. I sing because I love singing.
I get that.
I'm Danny Toeman. I'm from North London. I like to wrestle. I like to yoga. I like to eat. I like to cook. I have this need to spread the love that I feel from the music that I love to other people, to make people, I don't want to sing sad songs to bring anybody down. I like the idea of a shared experience where everyone leaves happier and they feel entertained and they've got their money's worth with extra value. That is who I am, for instance. And I realize that's not even what you were asking. But I tell you this, I had my very first live stream that I did, and I only did about 2. I still came on wearing a cape and tried to bring an element of show into it. But as soon as I got into the bit where, the call and response, it was quite funny because I'd sing, and instead of getting an audience who wasn't there singing a line back, they'd type it into the chat. Kind of worked.
I suppose. Although a bit distracting for you, the singing, I imagine.
Yeah, it was fine.
You're one of the few musicians who have managed to squeeze in a couple of gigs whilst the restrictions got lifted. What was that first gig like for you?
Well, the first gig I did was in August, and it was a private party. It was like a private festival / birthday party in a junkyard in Brixton.
Amazing.
Which was pretty fun, to be honest. I was quite happy also because it was one of the hottest days of the year, and they did a temperature check, and somehow my temperature was fine. I wasn't feeling like a feverish or anything, but it was a sweaty day. I want all you viewers to imagine me very sweaty right now. Okay, and so we did that, and it was a lot of fun, and people enjoyed it. It was me and my bass player. And then more recently, we played at the Bedford, which was great to be in a proper setting, playing a gig, although I do love scrapyards. They're very atmospheric. And at the Bedford, we put on the whole big show again. But sadly, there was a line on the stage that we couldn't walk past when singing, and I wasn't allowed to throw things at the audience. I love to throw things, anything I can find in my pocket, just throw, or allow singing back and forth. And people still tried, but members of the staff shut them down very, very quickly, which I understand why. And that's the thing. I love the idea that it's all of us in a show creating it. You can't play to a brick wall. But I find it very, very difficult to play to a brick wall, which I guess in a sense is like live streaming. I like that interaction with people. I feel it raises all of our spirits, and it's the quickest and easiest way to, if you're a good singer and you're singing about love or singing about happiness or joy, it's the quickest and easiest way of spreading that to other people in the vicinity. And that's why I do what I do.
I wanted to ask you about She's Got Something About Her video. It looked like a lot of fun to make. Where did you come out with the idea, and What was it like?
I came up with the idea a long time ago. I can't remember what the genesis of it was, but I think in my original idea, let's just say it was a bit more high budget. So it included a few more sort of fancy locations, and the bit where, spoiler alert, I go on a date with 3 different beautiful women. They all find out and then they all chase after me. Like, for instance, I thought it'd be really funny that the women discovered that they were all dating me at the same time in a bridal shop. Like, even if I hadn't proposed to these women, they're all so crazy about me that they felt the need to already go and buy their wedding dresses. Like, that to me is just hilarious for obvious reasons. But obviously we couldn't get that in. We did the whole thing in one day, and it is the reason why I am not an actor and have no intention of being an actor, especially a film actor, because, and like everyone who I spoke to afterwards said, yeah, Danny, it's pretty much just standing around all day, waiting for shots to be set up, getting tired, and then having to act. And I mean, if Hollywood were to come knocking and offer me like a big role or whatever, you know, I'd definitely take it. But let's just say, but I would imagine it would still be spread over a few days rather than getting everything done in one day. It was I found it pretty difficult. I don't know if you've seen the Rise Above music video, but we did that in 4 hours. You know, I'm in a wrestling match. I get dropped on my head a few times. Like, it took 4 hours, including setting up all the lights and taking all the lights down. And I got dropped on my head maybe actually, like, to be honest, like 20 times, only twice where it actually hurt. And that was easy. That was actually much, much easier in comparison. Really.
So if Hollywood were to come knocking, would you accept?
Oh, of course. Of course. I mean, with the right role, obviously. And I will do nudity, but only if it's essential to the plot.
Okay, noted. I'll let the Hollywood guys know.
Thank you.
You also did a Proud Mary cover during the whole lockdown situation. And I noticed that you and your band filmed a video of you guys all totally remotely. What was that like? And why did you choose that track to cover?
Well, we did a few tracks. I don't know if you saw, we did Proud Mary, I Want You Back by the Jackson 5, and Come and Get Your Love by Redbone. Oh. And they were, well, please check them out because I always appreciate the views. Yes. And shares. That's how you get the spots. That's how you get the Instagram engagement. That's the rules now. You're not looking for likes, you're looking for shares. That's how Instagram works. That's how the algorithm favors you. What happened with that? Yeah, I just thought it would be fun to put some interesting new content out, because I am now a content maker, as the law goes, or in need of a job retraining, as the government says. We made, I don't know what it was. I think I just wanted to play some covers that I like and keep engaged with the musicians that I enjoy playing with. Unfortunately, our regular drummer didn't have sort of the setup to be able to take part in it, so I got a great guy in called Ben Swan to do the drum tracks. He's got his own setup with cameras and everything, and got the horns involved, Proud Mary. And I actually believe I've got one more cover version with the whole band, including the horns, left in the tank, which I shall be releasing very, very soon. Okay. I won't tell you what song it is, but it is another classic. It is another classic soul cover. But I think it's a case of, you know, always doing these things at the right time. Just like the live streams and the what were they again? The Zoom pub quizzes.
Yes.
You know, having the musicians in the different screens, I think kind of went a little bit out of favor, but you know, it might come back into favor.
Why not? I reckon it will. Classic tunes, assuming with you it would be soul and funk, but you could go either way. Is there a song that you wish that you'd written? Oh,
there are so many. There are so many. I mean, just to be that guy, I would always want to pick the one song which would probably have maybe the most money. So I guess I'll probably have to say White Christmas by Irving Berlin.
Okay.
Like, and you know, I'm assuming that other artists who do this show, they will say something that's probably very meaningful, they think is a great song that kind of encompasses their career in one song, which does more than their entire catalog. No, I'm just going to go for White Christmas by Irving Berlin. And I will kick myself in a few hours' time. And I'm thinking about this interview and I think, no, I'd much rather have written that song. So it's hard to say.
Well, hopefully we'll get you back on again soon, and I can ask you the question again, and you might have the opportunity to change your mind.
Possibly. But to be honest, I've always wanted to write a Christmas song, but it's really, really difficult. I found a giant anthology of Christmas songs to get some inspiration. And every possible variety of Christmas song has been written. There's, New York, Christmas in New York, and London Christmas, Mexican Christmas, Christmas cha-cha, Christmas rumba, Christmas salsa, non-religious Christmas, religious Christmas, Jewish Christmas, Hindu Christmas. Every possible Christmas song has been written. Songs about Santa, about the reindeers, about the presents, about falling in love over Christmas, about breaking up over Christmas, everything. Everything has been written about Christmas. So I need to find the angle of, and you know what? This year in December is going to be a giant influx, I bet you, of Corona Christmas songs.
Yeah, probably.
There'll be at least 50 on Spotify.
Yes. So if people want to find out more about you, your vinyl, what you've been up to on social media, where can they go? What can they do? Sure.
Well, first of all, best place to go would be dannytoeman.com, which is my website, which has links to my all my different social media pages, whatever you like, and also links to my vinyl, which is on dannytoeman.bandcamp.com. But if you go to dannytoeman.com, you can get to the Bandcamp to buy the upcoming vinyl, if what you say is what you mean. That's a real great way of supporting a musician, honestly. Because unlike Spotify, where you're paying £10 per month for millions of tracks, on vinyl, you're paying £10 for a song, or two songs, A-side and B-side. And you can also find me on Instagram, at Danny Toeman. No spaces, no capital letters, no underscores or anything, all one word. Same with Twitter, same with Facebook. And the best way to remember that is Danny, like Danny, toe, as in foot, and man, as in woman. Danny Toeman. That's me.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And hopefully we'll speak to you soon and get you down.
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely. If I come back to the studio, do I get another mug?
Sure, we can work something out.
Perfect.
Keep your politics out of my line of sight. I know that things are bad, but your grandstanding sermonizing tendencies only serve to drive me mad. So what you say is what you mean. You don't mean a doggone thing if what you say is what you mean. You don't mean a doggone thing, yeah. The ever-changing focus of your condemnation keeps turning on a dime. Can you speak for yourself and say what you mean when you try to toe the party line? So what you say is what you mean. You don't mean a doggone thing if what you say is what you mean. You don't mean a doggone thing, yeah. Keep it to yourself. Woo! Oh yeah. Yeah. Here we go. History repeats itself to a thoughtless mind. I think you need to turn the page, 'cause the way things are headed ain't just over the edge. It's right back to the Stone Age. Don't you know that actions speak louder than words? Your silence is deafening. Where you gonna be when all hits the fan? Hiding behind a wall, saving your own skin, 'cause if what you say is what you mean, you don't mean a doggone thing. If what you say is what you mean, you don't mean a doggone thing. If what you say is what you mean, you don't mean a doggone thing. If what you say is what you mean, you don't mean a doggone thing, yeah. If what you say is what you mean, then you don't mean a doggone thing. If what you say is what you mean, then you don't mean a doggone thing. If what you say is what you mean, then you don't mean a